You know what? We have Hollywood royalty with
We
us
do.
here today. We are thrilled to welcome critically acclaimed actress Glenn Close with us this morning.
So for her roles, Glenn has earned multiple Tonys, Emmys, Golden Globes, but today she's here to talk about another part she's played, and that is Aunt.
Yes.
She's here with her nephew,
And sister,
Kaylin,
yes.
and sister, and also advocate. And all of you are advocates working to end the stigma associated with mental health issues, and we are glad for it. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Glenn, people know you, of course, for your work in acting, but not everybody knows about your other passion that you poured so much of your heart and soul into, and that is your foundation, Bring Change to Mind.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start our viewers off with a video that really drives home the point that mental health affects all of us in some way.
Walking like a one-man army, fighting with the shadows in your head, living out the same old moment, knowing you'd be better off instead if you could only say what you need to say what you need to say.
1 in 6 adults has a mental illness, and we face a stigma that can be as painful as the disease itself. Change a mind about mental illness, and you can change a life.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to. Say what you need to. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
Public.
We were just talking, Glenn, about how this was a family affair at Grand Central Station. Tell me about that.
Well, it was amazing. We decided that we were going to start Bring Change to Mind. And this was almost 10 years ago now. And we were going to talk openly about being a family that was dealing with mental health. Kaylin was diagnosed with schizophrenia and my sister with bipolar disorder. And they, with me, decided to, as a family, talk about it on a national platform. And it was daunting. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but we knew that stigma is just as bad as dealing with the illnesses themselves. And so the beginning of that is just to start the conversation, to talk about it openly, to, you know, have no shame about it, no fear about it. And hopefully that beginning has now blossomed into an amazing movement. Everybody should check into bringchangetomind.org and the community there, but also learn about mental health, mental illnesses, and connect with people who are also dealing with the same thing.
You mentioned the awareness. That is so important because you went through so much of your childhood, and your sister Jessie, your mom, for so long in her life, right? Not knowing. Can you talk a little bit about how that struggle was there all her life and how it affected you and your broader family life, all of you?
Well, we didn't have any vocabulary for mental health, for mental illness. Even though my dad was a very, very accomplished doctor, it was just kind of a taboo. And Jessie was just considered the wild one. And, oh, she's a problem, and, you know, what are we going to do about Jessie? And it wasn't until she was 50, because I think of the stigma in our own family, that she got to be properly diagnosed.
Bipolar, right?
Yes. And
she had kids by then.
Yep.
Being a mom and not knowing
Kay
what
has
she was struggling
his own
with.
story, yeah.
So, Kaylin, when did you recognize that something was different about your mom than from perhaps the other moms in the neighborhood?
Oh, I don't think I did, actually, until I was experiencing symptoms myself.
And that was when you were a teenager?
Yeah, about 16 or 17, I started to kind of downward spiral.
You're diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder.
That's
What
the
is that?
technical
What is that for people who
diagnosis.
don't understand?
Well, as far as I understand it, it has components of thought disorder, or more on that side of the spectrum, and then also mood component. It's kind of like bipolar and schizophrenia, or symptoms, you know, kind of spanning the spectrum between those two.
Something that's interesting about mental health is that if someone were to tell you today that they are diagnosed with cancer, or even if someone were to say that they have a person in their family who is dealing with Alzheimer's, those are things that we just readily accept in our culture, and would ask very meaningful questions and have compassion and maybe even empathy. But there's something about mental health disorders that we have yet to climb over that wall.
Yeah, it's the stigma. And we have we've started with Bring Change to Mind, these incredible clubs in high schools. And it started in the Bay Area, and it's now we're in 16 different states. And this is where kids with mentors, but basically it's peer-to-peer, talking to each other, dealing with the anxiety and the depression and the suicidal ideation that they're all going through, that they have found a way to be there for each other, to understand each other, to learn about the vocabulary. And to me, that is the most exciting development that's happened.
We're kind of afraid to talk about it because we don't understand it. And until you know someone personally, like your family members, or until we hear the story on TV, I think you're right, that vocabulary feels awkward to us.
Yeah, and it is a lot of fear, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
what happened when you came home. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, my group of friends, and I think it probably started earlier than I realized, but they kind of left my side because I was, you know, my behavior had become different. And so they said, Kaylin has changed and we don't like it. And, you know, they went on with their lives, and so it kind of ended my social life.
Were you able to talk with your mother about this as you were struggling with it? Because you're sort of fighting it together.
Well, sure. I mean, I was able to talk about it, I think. You know, I'm willing to talk about it. It's a lot of time, it's just very difficult to talk about in a technical sense, not just because I don't want to.
What can the public do, right? When you meet people, what can they do to support you? Is there a message that you have for people?
I would just say, be kind, you know, just have compassion for people. Doesn't mean you need to give up yourself. It just means that you can maybe put yourself in someone else's shoes, even for a moment.
yeah, to know that that person is not that illness. You're not your illness, just like you're not cancer, or you're not diabetes, that you are who you are.
I love how you drove home
recovery.
that point in the video when the T-shirts that you had on turned back to blue and gray, and you're not defined by what that illness is.
Yeah.
That's the message, right?
Yes, and also 1 in 4 in that crowd, in the people that were going through Grand Central Station the day that we were filming it, 1 in 4 of them was dealing with mental health issues as well.
And we are back with Glenn Close, and now she's joined by Dr. Bennett Leventhal, a professor at UCSF and also an advisor to Glenn's foundation nonprofit, Bring Change to Mind. Thank you for coming in as well, Dr. Leventhal. You've been working really hard together to really support students. And mental health seems to be a bigger and bigger concern. My daughter's in high school, and I see it in the kids around her. I want to ask you if the statistics do show that it's becoming a bigger issue for the teen population. Is that a trigger? Is stress a bigger problem? What do you suppose the causes are? What are you seeing?
Well, actually, it's been a big problem for a long time. We just didn't count it, meaning we, the adults. The kids actually have always known about it, just haven't known what to do about it. So we know that about half the population in the United States at some point in their life will have a psychiatric or mental disorder. Of those, 3/4 will begin before the end of adolescence. And that 1 in 5, 1 in 4 high school students have a diagnosable disorder. Their friends all know about it. So, but we started with Bring Change to Mind, we go to a high school and we say, you know, we want to help with this problem, and the principals and the teachers say, we don't have anybody who has those problems here, but they were there. And the kids knew about it, but they were told, oh no, you're not there and we don't talk about it. And that created an enormous problem. So that's the stress. It's this conspiracy of silence.
The diagnosis sometimes can take a long time, it seems. I was reading about Kaylin, your nephew, and it seems like it took years before, 1, he was properly diagnosed, and 2, before he was on the right medication and treatment to get him to a place that stabilized him.
It's a serious problem. So we know, for example, for many disorders, the mean time between the onset of symptoms and diagnosis can be 5 or 6 years. And even when we make a diagnosis, only 25 or 30% of individuals get proper treatment for a variety of reasons. Some is access to services, insurance doesn't pay for it, And mostly it's stigma, the shame that now I've got this disorder, people will know, and so I have to go hide, and hide in pain and suffering.
So what are you doing with the programs with the schools? Are you training the students to recognize symptoms in each other or offer support? And what about on the teacher-counselor level?
So the brilliance of Glenn's work is to say that people who have mental illness are just the same as all the rest of us. In fact, if 1 in 2, some of us have it, and that's just fine. But
I'm gonna hold my hand up. So definitely, you know, things have happened in my life where I, for sure, am one of those people.
And what makes a difference is that instead of becoming separated from the community, you get included in the community. But included in the community not because people pity you, but because you're otherwise a nice person and have qualities that people want to engage with. So rather than educating students, what we do is teach them how to form a community, how to be together, how not to be biased, how to recognize stigma, call it out, and bring it to an end. In other words, promote social closeness. And because through social closeness, we can not only help each other, but we can create understanding and help dissipate stigma.
Glenn, have you seen an impact yourself when you visit these schools?
Oh, I was at one of the summits, I think it was 2 years ago, and I was absolutely floored. I was floored by the openness of the students and how they were so willing to talk out loud about what they were dealing with. And some of them in the group I was in were talking about how difficult it was to communicate with their parents about what they were going through. And all the different initiatives they were doing. But it blew me away, the sense of community and the sense of acceptance and the excitement about what they could create together, really.
So one of the brilliant things about the high school clubs is you're not born with stigma, you're not born with bias, it's something you learn. And so what we've tried to do is take the approach, if we start with kids who don't have an inherent bias about this and start to bring them together to learn from each other, then they will go forth in their lives without the kind of notions, and they don't use the terms like nuts or insane. Or crazy. Those are prejudicial terms, and we don't want to hurt people. And so they start doing that, and then they hear their parents saying it, and they start to say to their parents, you know, don't do that. That's my friend you're talking about. And that changes the conversation. And instead of something being frightening, it's something that is just part of everyday life.
And we were talking about the other day that each of us is an individual. Each of us is different. And a lot of this is just basically getting to know someone and getting to understand their story, and to be able to relate to that story as just another human being.
You obviously have a doctor sitting next to you. Glenn, you're an artist. Your nephew is an artist. What role does art play in this? Because we are seeing more characters on television and in movies and in plays who have some sort of mental illness or break as a part of that narrative.
Well, I think in some ways, I would love to know the percentage of how many artists are dealing with mental health issues, because I think that's, in some ways, it could be why you are in the arts, why you are on the edge, why you have certain insights and certain ability to get into somebody's life or that you know, of that character. I think the arts are tremendously important, and I think the fact that so many of our public schools don't have art programs anymore is really terrible, because it's a very, very needed and important way for somebody to express themselves.
Our Congresswoman Jackie Speier actually made the same point yesterday about the arts being cut from so many schools. But what you were saying about Hollywood, the perception and how it treats mental illness in stories, that's changed a whole lot, hasn't it, too, since you started your career? People remember you early on from Fatal Attraction, of course.
Right, which was added to the stigma. She became known as one of the great villains of, you know, all time. You know, and I say now, if we could have told this exact story was told from her point of view, she'd be a tragic figure.
Instead of a villain.
Yeah, because I never was playing a villain. I was playing something very specific who needed help. Yeah.
Well, I would watch that movie.
We loved you in
So
the
if you
role.
want to remake it,
Yeah,
I've
we would love it
already
in
pre-bought the
that, too.
ticket on Fandango.
You know what? We're going to have to continue this conversation through the Commonwealth Club, right?
Yes.
Where you and Kaylin will both be tonight. There are
And
still some
you're-
tickets available. Will you be there as well,
No,
Dr. Leventhal?
no, I won't be there.
Okay, but we want to put it up for our viewers who are interested
Wonderful,
in hearing
great.
and learning more. Tickets are available at commonwealthclub.org. It is at 7 o'clock tonight, right, Glenn?
Yes?
Yes, all right. Yes.
I just flew in. I'm just saying.
And we do want to remind you to take action to find your ally. Go to our website, abc7news.com/takeaction. We do have links to resources for mental health and so many other issues that are affecting the Bay Area. We can't thank you both enough for
Yeah,
being
and go
here.
on to bringchangetomind.org.
Yes, I have. And they have that amazing video that we played. You'll
Right,
be able to
okay,
find that and some other clips as well, which are really great. And also thank you to your nephew, Kaylin, for being here too.
He was great.
Thank you,
Thank
Kaylin.
you so much.
Okay.